Sahana Vavatu Sahinau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You see, you are chanting the mantra, and at the same time, the intellect is reflecting on the meaning. That is one of the great practice. And after the discernment, we are going to talk about it. We are going to talk about that. By the name, it is known as the japa. But first thing first, I'm going to conclude the discernment. There are many aspects. There are 10 or 15 different steps of this viveka. So once we move to the higher level of seeking, we will cover those aspects of the viveka. So, are you applying the principles in your daily life? Are you applying the discernment before any action that you take in your daily life? That is very important. If you are a seeker and you are not applying this viveka in daily life activities, then it becomes, then your mind will go back and mind will dictate the intellect and you will lose the discernment. Then one day you will say, nothing is happening with the Eastern wisdom. It's better to leave. So we have to apply these principles of viveka, discernment, in daily life, daily personal life, professional life, social life, family life. Only if you remember, only if you aspire to realize the real self, only when you want to bring an end to the suffering. There are many reasons. Only when we perceive the pleasure outside, I get obsessed and attached. I have an imagined projection, and that is the beginning of my suffering. So I have to instantly become aware. Only when your mind is pure. I'm giving many reasons. Think of it. You have to contemplate on only when we apply the discernment. Do you see the relationship? Do you see the relationship of Mangalacharan that I cover on Saturdays and the 4 connections? I want to bring an end to the suffering. That is the result I want. I want to realize the real self. If you do not see, then you need to contemplate on this power of discernment again and again. It's a matter of practice and applying in your daily life. Don't start teaching others, but just talk, think, speak, and act with discernment, and you will see the tremendous impact, not only in your personal, professional life, but also in your mind. Your mind will remain at peace and calmness. Check again. I've been telling you, check again in the evening before going to sleep. Spend about 15 minutes and ask how many times I was in anxiety, I had a kind of hatred or the jealousy inside. How many times I didn't feel good, I feel bad. And then contemplate and reflect. Power of discernment. And when you use the power of discernment, you are dissolving all the 9 factors which I covered. You have to go through, which says the world is suffering. Now the world is no longer suffering. Now I see the world as it is, without any projection, without any imagination, without any distraction. And that is the importance of the satsang. Remedy, I've been telling you, remedy is the satsang. But when you apply, it comes by the third group of the practices, the realization. And once you realize that it is bringing the change, then I have to remind myself, I have to repeat and revise. Why I have to remind, repeat, and revise? The mind tends to forget. Mind will make you forget. Mind has trillions of impressions. They are not easy to go. So it means now I have understood the discernment, I'm contemplating, reflecting, and my actions are threefold: thought, speech, and action. They are coming out of me. My personality, attitude changes. If they are not changing, then you have to go back and look again. As I told you, there are 5 practices this master has suggested. Pranayama, we have covered. Pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses. Then discernment is the third. Fourth is the japa. And fifth is the meditation. Now you see the first 4 prepares a strong foundation for meditation. That is one approach, one way to approach. You will understand that what he is talking about. Today, I told you that there are 10 or 15 different stages of discernment. I covered few. So as we will move along, will become the highest level of the seeker, I will cover those aspects. Today's topic is very interesting. And you have to remember, you have to check and recheck whether these changes have taken place in your intellect. What are those? So, seeker develops or awakens to 4 specialized types of intellect. Because intellect is doing the discernment, you see that? So we should understand. So dharma intellect, dispassion intellect, love intellect, and the real self intellect. You categorize. We don't say your IQ goes up. It's a common sense approach. We don't worry about IQ. Dharma intellect, I will talk about. So you develop 4 types of intellect. Now, if the intellect lives in these 4 types during the day, weeks, months, and years, you will see a tremendous change. Anxiety will definitely not touch you. Reaction, blame, and complaint game. You will have a critical evaluation. You still criticize, but it does not contain the element of emotion, feeling, duality, and a conflict. So that is achieved by the 4 types of intellect. Not only that, by the power of discernment, we awakens. This is a 4 specialized types of intellect. So when you follow these 4 types of intellect, you develop the 4 powers of intellect. 4 types of intellect, 4 powers of intellect. The power of faith, the power of decision and the choice. Your choice follows the dharma, what is right and good. That is the 4 powers. What are the 4 powers? Power of faith, power of decision, power to hold on to that choice. You don't get disturbed and distracted. Once you have chosen, you stick to that. Power to hold on to the choice. You did something wrong and you said sorry. So internally, with your emotion and feeling, you are seeking the forgiveness and you hold that choice. I said sorry because, that guy is crazy. It's better to say sorry. No, that is not the case. The third one, power to hold the choice. and power to control, regulate. We'll talk about it briefly. Now you see 4 types of intellect, 4 powers of intellect. Then you have a 5, you have a remarkable 5 changes that you experience in your intellect, ultimately in your behavior. 5 changes, remarkable changes. Don't take it literally. First, that your intellect becomes famous, or I can say you become famous. It doesn't mean that you have 5 million followers on social media and then you become famous. This being famous is totally different in quality and in quantity. First, remarkable changes, famous. So we will understand what famous it is. And then you have an emotional freedom. Emotional freedom. Why? Because the intellect with the discernment is constantly checking your mind. No way. Don't go there. You live into that state. Now see, think of this. Remarkable changes in your personality and behavior. So the 5th one is that you have a kind of, first is you become famous in a different sense. Buddhi, emotional freedom. Second, you get a cognitive ability, a very higher cognitive ability, or you can say a recognition of ignorance and the wisdom simultaneously. And then you get glories. What are those glories? We are going to talk. That is the 4th one. And the 5th one, now your mind, your life, your personality moves from consumer to a great contributor. You're always in the mood of helpfulness. We still have those selfishness. So that is the sign of a higher seeker. That is the sign of a higher seeker. So did you get it? 4 types of intellect. Dharma intellect, dispassion intellect, love intellect, real self intellect. 4 types. By the 4 types, you get 4 powers. Power of faith, Shraddha. Power of decision, Sankalpa, we say in Eastern wisdom. Power to hold on to that choice. That is the beginning of a real journey of meditation by the Patanjali, which say that it is dharana. And the power to regulate, it is samyam, sayam. So sayam also means the power to control here. I'm using a different word to help you understand, but basically it is a sanyama. Sanyam includes premeditation, meditation. Means that intellect has the ability to regulate your journey of meditation. So these are the 4 powers of intellect, and then what happens? You become a higher and higher level of a seeker. You have these 5 remarkable changes. First, you become famous. I will talk about it. Emotional freedom. Second, you get a recognition. Third, you get a glory. Fourth, and then what happens? Once you have all these changes in your life, your mind will automatically find that how can I help? How can I contribute? How can I contribute in my family life, in my personal life, in my professional life? Your intention. In US we say your intention has changed completely. But why these changes are required? To recognize and realize the real self. That is the power of discernment. Dharma intellect. 4 types of dharma intellect. Those who are born and brought up in India, we talk of dharma and adharma. So I told you, I have already explained that dharma has deeper meaning than only a religion. It means the righteous living. It means the righteous thought, speech, and action. At a very primary level, it also means, at a very primary level, it means do's and don'ts, which is explained by the Patanjali in the Yama and the Niyama. But with reference to the discernment, our intellect finds what is right and good for everyone, not only for me. Right and good only for me, attachment and detachment, likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure. I want to avoid pain, I want to get the pleasure. Very subtle, but very interesting. So dharma, intellect, by the practice of discernment, previous practice, pratyahara, previous practice, pranayama, and regular practice of meditation. So ultimately we get the dharma intellect. Dispassion intellect. What is the meaning of dispassion intellect? Somebody was yesterday, he is living a very highly evolved life after almost for 6 or 7 years. So he was telling me that, yesterday he was there and he was telling me, my honey and the kids were watching the horror movies and my mind was little upset. And then I recognized, what the heck, why should I be upset? So outer situations, you see the outer situations and internally you enter into a state of dispassion. And then he said, within the next second, my mind entered into the clarity and the calmness. And I was laughing at my ignorance. I'm just telling you a simple example. And that, if that happens frequently in your life, leave it, let them. This will also pass. Even if I control them not to watch, they will start watching into their mobile device. I will use another means to talk about it. You see, dispassion. You have a state of dispassion. It is not indifference. You are happy, you are enjoy inside because you recognize your ignorance. That is one aspect. I'm concluding it. So there's a lot of things to be discussed. Then there is a love intellect. I use a specific word, the intellect inspired by love. When by the practice of discernment, intellect is not dictated by attachment and detachment. It is not dictated by pain and the pleasure. It is not dictated by any craving and the obsession. So then what happens? Unconditional love starts manifesting from within. That is what I say, love intellect. I have to recognize it is unconditional and conditional love. Conditional love means attachment. Conditional love means expectation. Conditional love means consumer mind. How it happens? By the power of this, by practicing and applying the viveka, love intellect. So love intellect, what happens? It starts dissolving your impurities of the mind. It is not dictated by duality and division. Internally, you are full. Outside, depending on the situation, you talk, you communicate. So first time you experience what is this unconditional love. Sometimes you insist, no, you have to do this. It is because of the unconditional love. So outer expression is still the same. Because of attachment and obsession, I say, no, you have to do it. And because of the unconditional love, you say you have to do it. So there's a tremendous inner change in your life. And then what happens because of these three types of intellect? Where the intellect will go now? The real self-intellect. The intellect recognizes and tries to maintain its awareness on the real self. Oh, what is the real self? Oh, that real self is equal to individual self minus body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego. So your approach is you are negating what you are not, and your intellect is open to the higher consciousness. I'm telling you the importance of discernment in the daily life, and I believe you have been doing it. Then what happens? Because of these four types of intellect, you have a power of faith. What I like pasta. So you have a power of faith in the pasta. That power of faith comes because of attachment and clinging, because of the taste and seeking the pleasure. That is also the power of faith. That power of faith in ignorance. Now you have a power of faith in wisdom. Your intellect discerns, observes, corrects your wrong notion to the right notion, and then you say yes. And that is the importance of the satsang, listening from the teacher. So what happens? Ultimately, my intellect starts recognizing the real self, the presence of some unknown thing in our personal, professional, social life. You are not attached to anyone. It does not mean that you are indifferent. You are full of love. You are full of life. Normally people talk about it, indifference. No. Sad. No. We are full of life. So that power of faith, that is what we see. And you sticks to that idea. Your mind takes you away to seeking the pleasure. Your intellect helps the mind to return to the real self because of the faith. Power of decision in the choice. Power of decision in the choice. We have chosen this path because of the faith. So the mind still has trillions of impressions. They come and go, they pass, and you say, thank you, God, you have come and you have gone. My master used to talk about, just explain in detail, O mind, be at peace, this will also pass. His famous statement, O mind, be at peace, this will also pass. What this? Oh, your mind still have certain thoughts of attachment, certain areas of pain and the pleasure, certain areas of the blame and the complaint, but because of the power of choice, you have chosen. Discernment is a matter of choice. You just leave it, Oh, that guy is crazy, your mind. Yes, your mind still thinks. Okay, let it go. It is not obsessed with any emotion. It's a very important power. Third power is the power to hold on to the choice. You are holding on to the choice. Where is that choice? Choice is the real self. Choice is the peace inside. Choice is the happiness inside. Why should I feel disturbed because of you? Because of a situation. So you hold on to that choice. And the intellect shines with that state of dispassion. 4 types of intellect. Go back. You have to a permutation and combination of these 3 aspects of the intellect. And then power to hold on to that choice is the beginning of a meditation. Patanjali says dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Those who have studied Patanjali Yoga in the third chapter, and all the three become sanyam, and that is the fourth, power to control and regulate. Now, this power to control and regulate is not because of some pain and pleasure, some because of attachment and detachment. No, I have to regulate. It is my freedom. You enjoy that freedom. I'm concluding. Today is the discernment, so it's very important. So you have to. So when every day you spend 15 minutes, how many times I got into anxiety or duality or a conflict, you have to start contemplating and reflecting with the four types of intellect. Which type of intellect is missing? Which power of the intellect was missing when I got into anxiety and reaction? You see the clarity, you see the logical explanation of our mind at a very subtler level. You instantly recognize, oh, these four powers, oh, this power was missing, this type of the intellect was missing. It takes hardly few seconds to recognize. Now, then what happens, my friends? That is the most important part, I would say, the five remarkable changes that comes. So I'm using the word your intellect become famous. You don't be. You become famous means body, breath, mind, intellect, name in the form. This name in the form has a sizable, tremendous presence in social media and you are famous. Next day you commit suicide. No, that is not we are talking about. So the word famous is you do not become an influencer in the social world. The real self becomes famous in the mind among millions of the thoughts. Did you understand it? Not very subtle, but still very subtle. You wake up in the morning, oh, real self. You wake up in the morning, let me have a glass of beer. What is famous in the mind? What is famous in the mind? You see, that is what we are talking about. So that remarkable changes comes. Harry wakes up in the morning. Where is my body? No. Where is the real self? Not only Terry, but we also, I have a lot of problem in the body. Famous. Did you understand? The real self becomes famous in the mind among millions of the thoughts. There are millions of thoughts. Still, we have to undergo the purification of the mind at a higher level. But the mind is now, mind says, but real self. Stress, but real self. Anxiety, but real self. Are you getting it? Say yes. Fourth one, that you get a sense of emotional freedom. Thoughts of craziness is there present in the mind, but you see them as a thought. You recognize them. There is a sense of emotional freedom. Your mind does not get swayed away. Do not get carried away. I'm telling you, it is a self-check. It is a self-check. In the midst of all the difficult situations, challenges in your life, you live with that sense of emotional freedom. Those who have seen pictures of my master, he used to talk about a couple of hours while sitting totally steady, and because he has a very heavy body, so at the age of 80 or 85 or 89, it's very difficult to move the body. After 3 hours of sitting in stillness. So after 3 hours, and still I could never saw that he has such an glow on his face. So when the session is over, and then he used to say, "Let a horse get up." So he is referring the body as a horse. It's totally that sense of emotional freedom. Did he not have a pain? Yes, he had extreme pain. But at the same time, I have never seen that his glow has lessened. How, let us horse, you wake up. Detached with the body, emotional freedom. That is the second remarkable changes you get in these situations of your life. Third one is the recognition. Again, I'm translating that word as a cognitive ability. I raise my cognitive ability. I have a higher recognition. Higher recognition of what? Higher recognition of what? Higher recognition of the love and the affection that is oozing out from the real self. I have yet to realize the real self because your mind has become has reached to a certain level of purity. You have a sense of affection and the sense of love is coming out. Why it has to come? It kills your ego. It kills your ego. Mind instantly recognizes when it is going to ignorance and when it is moving to the real self. So I categorize them. Do you see that? How I categorize? It is not the way the other text has written it, but I have collected it from 3 different texts. 4 types of intellect, 4 powers of intellect, and the 5 remarkable changes. You become famous, you should recognize who becomes famous. Amongst the millions of the thoughts, your awareness returns to the real self. Emotional freedom, recognition. 4th is the glories. Glories, material life, our glory is that how big our house is, how many cars we have, how many dresses we have, etc., etc. How smart we are, how handsome we are. That is how they are counted as glories in our material life. But here the glories is 6. 6 types of glories, 6 inner treasures that I have covered a couple of times, but now you recognize how they enter into your life. Calmness, withdrawal, pratyahara is perfected. That is another glory. Uparati, that you transcend, you live, you are enjoying the pasta. You see that yes, there is a pleasure, but still you have transcended that pleasure. You eat for the sake of eating. You're not carried away by that. And like this, there are 6 treasures. Now all these changes purifies the mind. It has killed the ego. It has dropped the attachment. Then how this mind and intellect works? Your mind is filled with a state of helpfulness. You become a contributor. You do not remain as a consumer. Your idea of selfishness dissolves. That is the most important characteristic of. So that proves that my sense of ego has dropped. My sense of ego has dropped. And that is why majority of these great people, great masters, have they always talk in terms of serving others, helping others, from the Jesus to our great masters of the Eastern wisdom, to Moses, to you can look at those people. Why? Because the more I contribute, the more I get. But don't build your ego. More you get, whatever you require in your material life, you will definitely get it. One person leaves you, the other person will come. So then what happens? A sense of freedom from the worries. Freedom from the worries. That is the nature of this practice, the discernment, how the discernment brings such a tremendous changes in our intellect and the mind. 4 types of intellect, 4 powers you gain. With those 4 powers and the 4 types is being applied in daily life, you strengthen, you awaken to these 4 powers of intellect day by day, and that results into 5 remarkable changes in your intellect. In turn, your thought, speech, and action. In turn, your behavior and attitude. You have yet to realize the real self, but now you can see it is 100% possible. Eyes are closed, and eyes are closed. Place of the body, being comfortable and being carefree. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. You see, now your tone of even these intellect uses that tone because intellect is clear, it is recognized. Do you see the cognitive ability? Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Emotionally, you are charged. Let everyone be happy. You know, the 5th recognition. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. Now you see that your thought, speech, action is aligned. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. Sarvesham shantir bhavatu. May there be peaceful. I told you that sense of emotional freedom, that conditional love is gone. Now whosoever my mind remembers, I have that sense of awareness. Sarvesham, Sarvesham Puranam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Puranam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Puranam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. Why? I have a power of the faith. That sense of completeness is what the real self is. Sense of incompleteness is what the individual self is. And the individual self is equal to body, breath, mind, intellect, ego, thought, speech, action, plus real self. There the real self is covered and veiled. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Let it be covered, but let me continue to have an auspicious. Let me enter into the auspiciousness. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. You see that the entire journey becomes an emotional journey. That emotional journey is emotional plus a knowledge journey. Emotion and the knowledge go together. Now looking deep inside the forehead in the space, you drop Shantoham, Shantoham. Are you not amazed when you contemplate on the meaning of this? Or Om Shanti. We have been doing Om Shanti. Let us do Shantoham. Shantoham means I am the peace. Are you not amazed? And that amazement comes with the clarity of the intellect, powers of the intellect. Then only you get that feel. Shantoham, Shantoham. Body is steady, Shantoham, I am the peace continues, and then start breathing into the belly, long, little longer breath into the belly. You see that when it is an emotional journey, you get totally absorbed even in doing the practice. Your body remains steady. Shantoham continues. How it has come. This is what the lesson was today. Shantoham, 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 Shantoham. And breathing continues into your belly. Belly is only there is an expansion and contraction of the belly. Otherwise, the body remains still. You inhale into the belly and you exhale from the belly, equal duration. Because the intellect makes the mind very clear. The same step, the same breathing, you will discover the same breathing and the same step takes your mind very deep. Why? Power of faith, power of choice, power to hold on. Otherwise, the mind is always demanding, is there any practice by which I can absorb myself deeper within? And that practice never comes in your life. I believe you are getting it. Now stop this. Pay attention to the flow of the breath. I believe you are understanding four types of intellect, four powers. Pay attention to the four powers of the intellect. Power to hold on. So your awareness and attention continues on the flow of the breath. Do you see that? That is how whatever the practice you are doing externally, internally, your intellect does the miracle. How that intellect is attained by discernment. Just attending one session is not enough, but applying that in your life, that helps you to reach. You are paying attention to the flow of the breath. So, what power of intellect? Power to hold on, power of a choice. Do you see? Power of a faith. And if all these four powers of the intellect is not working, that is why your mind is distracted. Why it is distracted? Because of the ignorance and the impurities of the mind. Look at the beauty of knowledge, the Eastern wisdom. With a common sense, we cannot stop appreciating the wisdom of these masters. And now start breathing deep, silent, slow. As you inhale, move the mind from the center, top of the head, inside the head, and then to the spine, reaching to the tailbone, singing Om Shanti. While exhaling, your mind moves from the tailbone, rises up into the spine, reaches to the top center of the head, singing mentally Om Shanti. You can easily understand how these four types of intellect, four powers, helps us to succeed in every step of meditation. And you have already understood what is discernment. So we have started at the very beginning and we went very deep into, we reached to a conclusion. If these changes, remarkable changes, do not take place, we intellectually understand and we have not applied in our life. Is the power of faith, power to hold on, power of choice, and it is doing everything. Can it come in a day? No. Now you recognize these four powers of the intellect does all this practice. Now leave this step. Just, even if you forget, it's okay. I'm just saying you remind yourself of the four powers of the intellect. Comes from the four types. Results into these five changes. So with that, just an awareness in the beginning. It may happen, it may not happen. So 16 segments of the fingers. You're dropping Om Shanti without touching them physically. It means what? The mind's eye, the mind's ear, the mind's tongue, the mind's speech, the mind's touch is doing Shantuham, Shantuham. So when these four powers are equally present, you'll feel a tremendous vibes and sensations in these fingers. What it means, now I can regulate my prana with the mind. And it extends into another direction of Reiki or pranic healing. It's better not to go there. Shantu, I'm the peace, power of faith. I'm just, tweaking in order for your mind to not only understand but be into it. And now leave this step also. Move the mind in the cave of your heart. Visualize the triangle of any color equilateral, pointing upward, moving the mind, dropping Om Shanti, Om Shanti, clockwise and anti-clockwise. 2. Discover the sync with your intellect. The moment you have that sync, then what we do? We push the mind deep into the cave of our heart, singing mentally, mentally singing. While singing longer, you are watching the mind seemingly stop. So the moment you feel like that, you drop the mind and the Shanti there. And you are nothing now. Why? You're doing nothing. Self-absorption. Awareness is there, but I-ness is not there. Who recognizes this? The intellect. When I-ness is not there, emotional freedom is always there. We have to realize differently. That's the beauty of this journey. Well, if your intellect recognizes I have lot of thoughts, I forgot myself, return again to the triangle, do Om Shanti, and then return to the self-absorption. So don't worry about that you missed it. Don't worry. Where is that power of intellect? Emotional freedom. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your Buddha palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside your palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down. We'll share. How are you, Stephen?
Sir, thank you. I've noticed in the last, since the topic of Viveka, and more so in the last 2 weeks, everything around me, and more importantly, everything within my mind is slowing down. And I started to recognize that I'm missing conversations. I'm missing parts of the lesson. I'm also missing parts of meetings, so which is actually kind of good because settling into this real self, this moment that nothing really matters. For the Eastern wisdom part of it, it makes it even more important to go back and listen, because I've become so self-absorbed in this moment of peace and quiet. It's pretty incredible. So I thank you for that. So I have some different challenges now to deal with. So.
Yes, that's really good. Even if you miss the lesson, you go through it, contemplate, and reflect, and you will find the changes. That is wonderful. So, how are you, Brandy?
Thank you. I'm fine. Mostly fine, like I said at the beginning. It's sometimes hard to believe that we have a choice, when, depending on what's presenting, finding that truly that discernment between all of the craziness outside and the famous person inside. Yeah. So I had a lot to reflect on today. Thank you.
Yes. We will become famous not only on social media, but the intellect becomes the famous. And it gets that ability of recognition. Oh, there is a sense of emotional freedom completely. There is a higher cognitive ability. And those 6 treasures are living at present. It is such a great accomplishment. I don't know how you guys appreciate that. Anyhow, beautiful sharing. How are you, David and Jay?
Thank you. I'm enjoying this journey right now. It's making a difference. I was at a fitness class yesterday, and they had 10 stations, and I found myself, you do them 4 times, and I found myself after the second one, I'm going, oh, I don't like the next one, the next station. Oh, I like the one after that. And then I said to myself, why am I attached to my likes and dislikes about a station? Just go and enjoy the aspect of health and working out. And so I started focusing on that, and the second half of my workout was awesome because I didn't have a like or a dislike or attachment to one station or another.
Beautiful.
So that my recent experience yesterday. Deep meditation, quiet, peaceful. Thank you.
It's a beautiful. You see, who says no? Continue. It is the intellect. Intellect through the self-awareness. Through this self-awareness, so what masters have discovered, what can we give it a name? So we have given the name, the dharma intellect, the dispassion intellect, the love intellect, the real self-intellect. Do you see the very subtle nature of this understanding? Beautiful. How are you, Gary?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. There's so much in this lesson today, so I'll listen over and over again. A couple takeaways for me, mostly applying it, because the knowledge really, if we just listen and then we forget about it, then we don't really ever understand it. We can only understand by applying it and seeing how it works and then having the faith in it. And I had an opportunity this week, and well, actually over the last couple weeks, I had a situation with a woman that's really special in my life that's feeling like she's losing her independence, and she's having a lot of body issues, just things changing. She's 88 years old, And I looked at her walker and things that she's acquired over the last couple months, and I looked at that as a freedom and like a friend. But that's my perspective of it, and it took me a bit, and it was my ego and looking from my perspective instead of her perspective. And it took me I said, I've had 2 strikes now.
Yeah.
The third one I'm out because I really ruffled her feathers and upset her in a really terrible way. And now I see it from her perspective. And that was so important, not my perspective.
Yeah. That is what the power of discernment does. So in the beginning, we push the mind to contribute, but in the end, that contribution becomes so natural, a sense of helpfulness, because the consumer mindset is already gone. So what happens then? We start looking from the perspective of others, what they are seeking. Is it possible to give them? Yeah, give. My mind is prompted. I will talk about that later. Let us have an experiences. For now, Dennis, how are you?
Thank you for the lesson and the practice. I take these powers and the changes of intellect as indicators of my own progress on the path. I think it's like milestones in a way, and criteria to check whether my intellect discerns properly. So I think it is quite important to remember these and constantly check whether these changes are taking place or not. And that the meditation was pretty deep with awareness of space at the end. Thank you.
Beautiful. You have summarized it very beautifully. That these are the checks and the balances. We have a checks and balances in democracy. So here we have the checks and balances also here. So we understand that, oh, did I apply the discernment? No, I had less anxiety. Why I have an anxiety? Your intellect says. And then it says that which type of intellect it is required. It required is the love intellect. Do I have it? And then I move to the 4 powers of the intellect, whether it is working or not, resulting into 5 attributes of the changes. And it does not happen easily. But if we are committed, it takes time. Time has no limit. How are you, Barbara?
I'm very good, thank you. I have an experience similar to David's, whereas in the past, if I didn't like to do something, I would just postpone it and I'd put it off. But I dropped the disliking of certain things, and now it becomes easy to do those. The same function becomes easy to do.
Beautiful. Yes, that is what the realization is. That is how, why we share the experiences. It is your intellect is sharing the experiences. So you know the changes taking place. You see, I postpone because I dislike a certain thing, but I get rid of the dislike by an intellect, by the practice of dispassion. It's so easy. It's so easy. How beautiful. How are you, Christina?
Thank you. I appreciate the continued teachings. And I think the question that was posed is where's my real self? And, waking up in the morning. And it's definitely not a question I've been asking. I've been looking at my thoughts, right? But then I go right to to-dos or what's happening for the day. And so I really found that question helpful to ask in the morning, where's my real self?
Yeah. So at least it acts as a reminder through the intellect And then the mind is not pushing us into the same ignorance and impurities and the same stuff again and again. That is another way to look at it. Beautiful. How are you, Terry?
Also, thank you for the continued teaching. I don't feel like I had been really feeling the peace.
Good.
And then today, then all of it went kind of deep, and then there was. So that's.
Yeah. You went deeper into it, and there is a clarity. Now see if you have 4 powers of the intellect and you are into the meditation. Every meditation succeeds. That is the power. Every time it succeeds. It doesn't matter where are you sitting, what are you doing, whether you are sitting or standing or lying down, you can enter into that state. How are you, Ashok? Namaste, sir.
Sir, namaste. Sir, nowadays I am contemplating on am I a contributor or am I a consumer?
Very good.
So throughout the day, in every activity, I make a habit on this key. I have to think on that where I am going. So it is awareness.
How many times you were upset yesterday?
Yesterday, one time, sir.
One time.
Not hide.
Oh, very good.
From you.
And
Yes.
how many times you have contributed?
Contributed, sir. One time I contributed. I mean, एक बार ऐसा लगा कि हाँ मेरे को चलो ठीक है I have to मुझे अपना हाथ खींच लेना चाहिए. ठीक है मैं कम बोला फिर मैंने कम बोला फिर बात को शांत कर लिया.
So why I asked you that how many times you were anxious and upset, it means you were a consumer. Only being a consumer causes you the upset.
Okay.
And when you are contributing, you are giving, somebody takes it, somebody doesn't take it, it hardly matters. It doesn't matter. Air is present, so whether I breathe in or breathe out, it depends on me. But air is always a giver.
Always a giver.
Always a contributor. So that is all. Thank you very much.
Sometimes honey says something, then I get
upset.
I get that was the reason yesterday. So, but I realized that nothing to say anything.
Honey is in our house is to make us upset. And I am here to make you not get upset. So how do you know that you also get upset if the honey is not there?
Sir, बस मैं कुछ बोलूँगा नहीं. हर समय अपसेट रहती है तो फिर मैं चुप.
Now he says he will not speak anything. But even you can create more honey if you don't have any honey in your life. That honey may be any issue in your house, in your relationship, with your mom, with your dad, with your son. So, very good. That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.